I am a koala, I sit up in my tree, look down upon the ground where my homeland used to be. Where once were trees and bushland, I just see urban sprawl. And it makes me wonder, what's the future of it all? People say we're cuddly, they say we are so cute. Sleep most of the day, don't drive about in utes, don't form any councils or keep no vicious pets. In fact, the kind of animal it's easy to forget. So goodbye to the bushland, goodbye to the trees. Why won't anybody come to rescue me? If I were a kangaroo, I'd surely hop away. So in this tree I'll stay.
Is left actually.
Well, you have been watching that in the surgery rooms and also in the ICU department.
Yes.
So how many children and women and elderly people you saw there? And what is your impression about the nature of the injuries in there?
Yeah.
Are they militants? Do you think they are militants? How many older and young men you saw there?
No, it's about 30% of the injured, like during the war in 2009, they are children. And most of the people that come here, they are civilians. They are old people, or of course some of them are middle-aged men, but they are killed in their homes, not in a battle.
That women and children make up a sizable number of victims of the current strikes. What? Currently, more than 1/4 of the fatalities are children.
My friends, these are dark times. Watching the videos of the Zionist mass murder in Gaza and elsewhere, my heart goes out to those victims. I've heard from friends in Gaza and in the Middle East telling me about the carnage all around them. As I am sickened by that carnage, I am also angry at the incredibly biased coverage of the international media. Yes, the international media based in America and London and Paris, that is a Zionist-controlled media. This video is an important video, not just to stop the slaughter of innocent Palestinian men, women, and children, but to also chart a path for freedom for the people of Europe and the people of the entire world. Once again, we witness the murderous brutality of Zionism. It's like watching a scene from hell. Israeli bombs, missiles, and shells blowing up scores of men, women, and children in Gaza. But I'm also sickened by the lying Zionist-dominated mass media in the West that use every trick in the book to try to make you think that poor little Israel is just defending itself. In one of the bloodiest of recent days, at least 52 Palestinians were murdered by Israeli forces. As I speak at this moment, over 154 Palestinian men, women, and children have been killed, and over 1,000 have been burned or maimed. Many more children and babies will suffer agony or death by the time you read this. How many more will have to die before enough people give a damn? I know that some of you will say, well, what about the poor Israelis? Do you know how many deaths there's been in Israel since this conflict? Not one, not a single dead Israeli in Israel. The United Nations now confirms that 3/4 of the Palestinians killed in Gaza were civilians, half of them women and children. But the Zionist media, they know how to lie. They claim the attacks in Gaza are because of Palestinian rockets, saying that Palestinians are guilty for the war. Well, here's the truth. The recent conflict began after 3 Israelis disappeared in the occupied West Bank. On the very day the 3 went missing, Israel launched what it called Operation Brother's Keeper. Israel blamed Hamas, even though Hamas is in Gaza, not the West Bank. And there's no evidence that what happened was more than an act of revenge by a small number of local Palestinians. There's no evidence that any government authority planned this attack. Yet Israel horrifically, collectively bombed and punished the entire Palestinian people. And the Zionist media, by their lies, yeah, it's complicit in Israel's mass murder, as well as the Zio prostitute politicians who don't demand that Israel stop this slaughter. Over 600 Palestinians who couldn't possibly connected to the crime were arrested in the West Bank. They were thrown into Israeli dungeons, infamous for their long record of human torture. Take a look at the international studies of this. The Israeli forces bulldozed the houses of the poor parents of the so-called suspects. They killed 5 Palestinian men during the operation, and they launched massive airstrikes and missile attacks of horrific carnage against, quote, pre-selected targets in Gaza. All this took place even before one rocket was fired by Hamas. Only then did Hamas try to fight back in reaction to the Israeli onslaught. In a feeble, desperate attempt, they launched their homemade rockets at Israel. Almost all the Palestinian, quote, missiles, unquote, are homemade spot-welded tubes, simple rockets fired by fertilizer and sugar with no guidance system and detonated by a nail and a bullet. On the other hand, poor little Israel has American-financed multi-million-dollar guided missile systems, attack helicopters, F-15 jets, tanks, long-range artillery, all paid for by at least $8 million a day given to Israel by traitorous, Zio-controlled American politicians, all stolen from the U.S. taxpayer. Now, all that's in contrast to Palestine, which has not one tank, one jet fighter, one helicopter, or a single truly sophisticated rocket. Israel has unlimited numbers of horrific weapons of mass destruction that they've used continuously for years on population centers. A Equating mostly homemade Palestinian rockets with these Israeli weapons of mass destruction is like using a pea shooter to defend yourself from a tank. The Zio media tries to tell you that this Israel is somehow the victim and the Palestinians are the aggressors. The truth is, as always, it's completely opposite of what the Zio media tells you. The aggressors are in fact, and have always been, the Zionist supremacists. The Zionists have ethnically cleansed Palestine. Over 750,000 Palestinians since 1948. 750,000 people driven out of their homes with murder and terror. They committed hundreds of horrific massacres against them, such as Deir Yassin, such as Sabra and Shatila, and many others. They murdered tens of thousands. They imprisoned and tortured tens of thousands more in their dungeons, all admitted by Israelis themselves. They set up a racially exclusive, supremacist state, bringing in millions of Jews from all over the world, while not even allowing Palestinians who were born there to come back to the place of their birth. They continue to periodically bomb, imprison, torture, and economically destroy the people in the Gaza Strip and in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinians aren't the evil ones. Considering the Zionist campaign of ethnic cleansing and murder, it's the Zionist supremacists who are the real aggressors, the real terrorists, and the Palestinians are the victims. But the Zio-controlled media lies every time they talk about the Israeli issue. They leave out the inconvenient fact that the people of Gaza are almost all refugees, as in the West Bank, who were terrorized and driven from their lands and homes by the Zionists. Now that is the undeniable, crucial fact. The fact the Zio media doesn't give you when they cover these issues. The Zio-controlled media gives more coverage to the people in Israel who are worried about Palestinian rockets than they do to thousands of Palestinians who over the years have been hit by them.
The Lowe family play cards to pass the time. They've been stuck inside for days. The parents would like nothing more than to take their kids outside, but it's too dangerous. Here they're safe.
It's very unpleasant to be outside and have to lie down on the floor, and especially if you're with your children. So we just stay home, and the girls it's their summer vacation. They're not doing anything. They're just here all day, going crazy. Not easy.
When the Zionists kill Palestinians at will, the media calls it Israel's response. Israel responded to Palestinian rockets, blah, blah, blah. Response to what? There's not been one dead Israeli in Israel since this conflict started. Here's a picture of a blown-up family home where 7 children and babies died. Can you understand that? What if it were your children? For God's sakes. Do you have a sense of kindness? Imagine if they were your children.